This is the inside of the Benimar Tessoro T-481. If I firstly move to the main control panel, I can turn the 12 volt on by firstly pressing this button, followed by this button here. Once we've done this, we can turn the water pump on and off just here. The water pump needs to be on so we can get water out of the taps, flush the toilet and refill the boiler if it's been drained down. We then have awning light on and off just here. Buttons along the bottom mainly give us information. So this first one here will give us a reading on the leisure battery. And then this one here will give us a reading on the vehicle battery. This one indicates how much water is in the fresh tank. And when your waste tank needs emptying, a red light will begin to flash next to the waste tank symbol just here. When your water drops into the red, you'll get a flashing amber light indicating that you are getting low on fresh water, and you'll also get flashing indicators if either of the batteries are low. This button here just controls the illumination of the control panel, so you can brighten it up, dim it down. This light here is just indicating that we're currently connected to mains electricity. And a light will illuminate next to this picture of two batteries here when the engine is started to let you know that the alternator is charging the batteries. This can only be viewed if these two buttons are turned on the control panel. The solar panel on the roof will charge both the leisure battery and the vehicle battery when it's required. And as long as these two buttons are turned on and you're hooked up to main supply, both batteries are again charged by the battery charger. If I now move around to the Truma control panel for the heating and hot water system, we can turn it on just by pressing the button here. And on the initial start screen you have the time, and again it will let you know if you have main supply connected. If I now press the button just here, you'll see a series of icons appear, and as I rotate the button they will begin to flash. So if we start with that first icon there, that is for the heating. So if I now click on it, you'll see that the heating is currently off, and all I now do is just rotate the button and pick whatever temperature I would like it inside the motorhome, and it will go right the way up to 30 degrees. So once you've decided on a temperature, just press the button to store it in, and you'll now see a flame has appeared above the icon. That flame there just represents the heating system, and it's just letting you know that you've set a parameter. Whenever the heating is in operation, the flame will begin to flash, and it will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. The next icon along is for your hot water, and again if I now click on it, hot water is off, and if I rotate I can heat hot water in eco mode, which will give us a water temperature of about 40 degrees. I can heat it in hot, which is about 60 degrees, and I can also perform a boost on the boiler. The boost was mainly designed for if there's going to be more than one of you having showers in quick succession of each other, or if you just want hot water very quickly. If you do perform the boost and the heating's running, the heating will turn off as it needs to use the extra power to perform the boost. And again, the icon will continue to flash until it's achieved the temperature you have asked. Moving along again, this next icon is power source. So currently to do both heating and hot water, I am using mains electricity using 2 kilowatts, indicated by the two little lightning strikes up here. If I rotate the button, I can lower the power consumption to 1 kilowatt, which is very handy if you're on a low amp site to try and avoid tripping. If I rotate again, I can put it into mix, so we can use a mixture of both the gas and main supply at 2 kilowatts, or a mixture of gas and main supply at 1 kilowatt. These settings are very handy, especially in the colder months of the year, if you want to get up to temperature nice and quickly. It will only consume the gas as it is required. And then lastly, if we don't have any main supply, we can solely run on the gas. Next we have the circulation fan for the heating system. So we can run the fan in eco or high. And if I now turn off both the hot water and the heating and return back to it, we can also use it to vent the motorhome, and it has a fan speed of 1 to 10. Moving on to the lower icons, this first one here is for a basic timer. So if I now click on it, it will ask you when you would like the timer to begin. And then end. And once you've done that, you can then select what you would like on within that time period. So let's say you want your heating to come on at 18 degrees. You want your hot water in eco. Let's use dual fuel. And then lastly, just leave the circulation fan in eco. Once we've done all this, timer off or on. If I now activate the timer icon will come up in this top corner here, and it will then activate at the correct time. If I now turn it back off again, when we go back in, we can then alter it again. Clock set just here. And then lastly, we have the settings menu just here with the little picture of the spanner. So if I now go into that, we have offset, which is just for the thermostat just here. So if you don't think it's quite correct, you can just slightly adjust it. We then have temperature, just if you prefer it displayed in Celsius or Fahrenheit. Brightness of this screen. 12 or 24 hour clock. Language. Index, which is really more for technicians. It just lets them know what software it's running. And then lastly, full factory reset. So from time to time, these particular control panels may throw up an error code, and an error code will appear as a warning triangle, and then a series of numbers and letters will appear on the screen. If you then Google it or look in the manual, it will tell you what the problem is. 9 times out of 10 it will be something relatively easy, so it may be telling you that you do not have main supply, so you may not have plugged yourself into the mains, or you may have tripped, etc. If you rectify the problem, 9 times out of 10 the error code will just automatically disappear. If that's not the case, just use your button to go to the warning triangle and double click on it, and it will then say no error usually and disappear. If that still does not solve the issue, if you still have anything running like heating or hot water up the top here, just turn them off, because it can reassess a lot faster when it's not trying to do lots of things at once. If you've done this and you still have the error code, I always then suggest the good old-fashioned turn it off and turn it back on again, and it's easily done just by holding the button down here. If you still have the error code, I then always suggest doing the factory reset, because sometimes that is all that is required. Another error code you can get is obviously if your gas bottle is depleted or turned off and you're trying to run it on gas. And you can also get an error code if you're running on gas and you open this window here. The flue for the boiler sits underneath this window, and there is a pressure switch just here. So if you open it, the pressure switch will ping out and cut the boiler out to prevent carbon monoxide poisoning. The Truma system can also be controlled via the Truma app. If you are going to do this, firstly, download the app onto your device. Once you've done this, make sure the Bluetooth is turned on your device, and then launch the app. Once it's loaded up, you'll see a button that says Remote Control. Press it and then follow the on-screen instructions. It will firstly ask you to go to the iNet box, which on this particular model is located inside the wardrobe. It will then ask you to press the Bluetooth button. It will then send out the Bluetooth signal and you'll be able to connect up to the box. Once you've connected up to the box, you will then be able to control your heating and your hot water locally via Bluetooth. What you can also do is add a pay-as-you-go SIM card. The slot is roughly around here where my finger is. If you do this and then register it through the app, you will then be able to control your heating and your hot water from much further afield. If I now just come down to the seating area just here and remove the cushions, and I now come to this area here and just lift up, you can now see the Truma combi boiler just here. To drain the boiler down for winterization, you just need to come to this section here. If first I just drop this section here, and you can see that there are levers on both sides, so if I just pull them I can then drop this out the way. This also then makes space for the two travel seats. But if I now just remove this section just here, you can see the location of the boiler drain valve just here. These particular drain valves are automatic, so if there's water in the boiler and this is in the locked position and the temperature inside the van drops below about 3 or 4 degrees, this will automatically open and drop all the water out of the boiler to frost protect itself. If you are manually draining the boiler down, firstly make sure that the water pump is turned off and then come to this blue diamond here and twist it. What will then happen is a blue button will then pop out at the base of the unit. So now all the water is being drained out of the boiler underneath the motorhome at this point here. I always suggest that if you are fully winterizing the van, that you then also go around and open up all your taps, because this will help release any airlocks in the system and make it drain down far more efficiently. When it comes to refilling the boiler, close all the taps, fill up the fresh water tank, make sure that the drain valve is re-locked. So if I turn this and press the button back in to reset it, and now turn the water pump back on, the water pump will now divert water from the fresh water tank back into the boiler. Let the boiler refill for a few minutes and then begin opening the taps. They'll cough and splutter as they force the air out of the system. Once they're running both freely on hot and cold, reclose and the system will fully reprime itself. So the only time we're touching the blue diamond is when we're manually draining the boiler down. If it's auto drained itself, all that will happen is the blue button will just pop out at the bottom, and to reset it just press it back in again. If it's just popping straight back out again, it's just too cold in the motorhome and you will need to turn your heating on to generate some heat to allow it to reset. The water pump is just located at this point here, and we can also gain access to the fresh water tank just here if you want to give any additional cleaning to it. Tucked down behind the driver's seat there is a switch, and this switch is active when it's illuminated, and this switch controls the tank heater that is located in the waste water tank. So if you are using the motorhome in extremely cold climate and you have water going into that tank, you can pop this on to avoid any frost damage occurring. The freshwater tank does not have a heater in because, as we just saw a moment ago, it is an internal tank. If I now move across to the bench seat And again, just remove the cushions. And now just lift up. You can see that we have access to the storage area beneath, which can also be accessed from the outside. And then tucked just here are the trip switches. So we have the individual MCBs, the main RCD and the test button just here. So if anything's not working on the main supply, just check to see if you've tripped, and obviously you can test the main supply on the test button just there as well. Beside that, we have the 12 volt fuses. So again, if anything is not working on 12 volt, just check to see if you've blown a fuse. The main fuse that does have a tendency of blowing on this particular model, if I just remove the front just here, is the 20 amp fuse, which is I believe it's this one. It'll be either one or the other, which is for the electric drop down bed. So if you've got too much stuff on that bed and you put it up, if the motor goes under too much stress, it will pop a fuse to protect itself. You will know that the fuse has been blown because A, the bed won't work, but secondly, the lights that sit underneath it will also not work as they are on the same circuit. Battery charger just here. So this is what is charging both the leisure and vehicle batteries from the main supply. The Avtex television is just located here on the bracket. It does also have a DVD player in it and USB connectivity at the top just here, and it can be positioned up and down just by squeezing this part here. Firstly, just undo this just here, and it can also swing out as well. Before using it, make sure that the television aerial booster is turned on, which is located in the wardrobe. It's just up here. There is an on-off switch just here, so just make sure that the light is on, and then make sure that the boost is set to max. Then the television itself behaves like any other TV, so you've got your on-off button just here. Obviously, as you change location, it will need to be retuned in. And with the Avtex TVs, they do have a fast retune button, which is just this button just here. So just press it and it will take you straight back to the retune menu. And then it's just a matter of hitting OK, and it will then retune itself back in. Hob just here, so we've got the electric hot plate. This will work when the motorhome is connected to main supply. It operates just on this knob just here. Red light comes on to let you know it's in operation. With the two gas rings, it's just a matter of pushing in, twisting and pressing the igniter. And then beneath that we have the oven and the grill. So if I now push in and go to the left, I can light the oven. And then if I push in and go to the right, I can then light the grill. Extract the fan above, so we have light on and off, and then fan on and off. This does directly suck the air to the outside, as you can see. Also in here we have the solar panel regulator. We do not need to do anything with it, it will just let you know what it's up to. So you'll see at the moment, we can see that there's UV light hitting the panel with the solar on. And we can see that it's currently in float mode, indicating that both batteries are as good as fully charged. Whenever it's popping a charge into either the vehicle or the leisure battery, the orange charge light will come on just here. And if there's a problem with the solar panel, you will get a red alarm light appear here. Cutlery drawer just here, and just located at the top are the gas isolation taps for the motorhome. So we have the fridge, heating and hot water, hob and cooker, and the barbecue point. They are all in the on position, and they can really stay like this. I do say they are more for maintenance than anything else. If you do smell gas in the motorhome, go to the source and turn off the gas bottle. Microwave just here, and again this will work when the motorhome is connected to main supply. Always advisable to remove all contents for travel. This is also a grill combi as well as a microwave, so as you can see you have it just here, so you can switch between your power settings, which is very handy if you're in a low amp site, and then you can switch between your grill and your combination. We have stop just here, presets etc, and then we have quick start just here, or we can set time just by rotating just here. Beneath that is the Thetford fridge freezer, on and off just on this square just here. This is an automatic model, so if you are on A for auto, it will find the best power source it can for you. So because we're currently connected to mains electricity, it's put us onto mains with a little picture of the 2-pin plug. As you can see, after a few seconds the screen will disappear, but you can see that it's still on with the little green light, and just tap it again to re-illuminate it. If I was to now run outside and pull the mains lead out, it would then automatically attempt to fire itself up onto gas, and then as soon as we start the engine of the motorhome, it will then automatically go over to 12 volt maintain to keep the fridge cold whilst on the move. I can take it out of auto by pressing this button here, so I can manually put it onto mains. Can manually put it onto 12 volt maintain. We are going to get an error code and a red flashing light at the moment because the engine's currently not running. And I can manually put it onto gas. Temperature control just here, and then we have anti-condensation jacket on and off just here. The anti-condensation jacket needs to be on in the warmer months of the year. This will prevent a build-up of condensation behind the unit, which would then run down the back of it and form a puddle beneath it. Freezer box at the top, and then the fridge beneath. And as this is a very large fridge, it does have a secondary travel catch at the bottom, so if you do have a lot of stuff in it, just flick it across to secure the door. And then to turn the unit back off again, just hold the button in. Above my head is the Omnivent fan. To operate this, firstly open the roof vent just by twisting. And then we have on and off just here. And then we have arrows out for extraction and arrows in for cooling, and it's variable fan speed just by pressing. Make sure that all roof vents are down for travel. storage access underneath the wardrobe just here, which again can be accessed from the outside. If I now move into the washroom, you can see the shower cubicle just here. Shower screen, do make sure that it is fully secured for travel. We then have the basin and then the Thetford toilet. So the bowl does swivel open to the cassette just on the grey lever just here, and then push to flush just here. Do make sure the water pump's turned on or it will not work. Level indicator just here, so it will let you know by rotating round to red when the cassette needs emptying. And then just make sure that you reclose the cassette again. If this has been left open and you try to remove the cassette from the outside, it will not come out. So if you do feel resistance, just make sure that nobody's left it open. Light switch just here. Electric drop down bed just here. Full control just on the button just here, so as soon as you let go it will stop. Obviously if you're having it in the higher height setting, just pop the ladder on just here. Otherwise you can by lowering the table, which I'll show you in a moment, and then by removing the cushions also have it at its lowest point as well. If you are having it in the lowest point, do make sure that you have turned off all of the lower lights to avoid any scorching of upholstery. If the bed was to malfunction and cannot be electrically put up or down, it can be manually wound. And just at this section here you'll find the nut. It's just a matter of popping the winding tool onto the nut and then just manually winding it up or down. To make the lower bed, you need to get the table into position, and it can be moved around just by pushing this lever here. It can also be rotated as well on this lever. This table needs to just drop down and then rest on these sections just here, and it's lowered just on this switch just here. So if I now just get it into position, as you can now see, it's fully lowered into position and sitting where it needs to be. Sitting just underneath this seat cushion here, we have this section that just needs to flap over and rest just onto here. And then it's just a matter of popping the cushions into the correct positions. These cushions all here can stay exactly where they are. They do not need to be moved. The only ones that need to be moved are these two here, and then the infill just needs to be popped into place as well. If I was now to lower the electric bed into the lowest position, do make sure that these cushions are also out of the way. As you can see now, it's in the lowest position. You see I've turned off all the lights as well. When in the higher position, you do also have these nets that can be clipped up to the ceiling as well. Both of the front seats rotate round, and they just rotate round just by pulling this lever just here, and then to get it into the position that you require, you then just need to use your front lever just here to slide the chair backwards and forwards.